Welcome to the NodeXL Weather Report. Marc, it has been too long since we've had a chance to chat. How are you?
Doing well. Happy summer 2016 to you.
Thank you so much. So for those that have seen some of our beta work, we just want to take a few minutes of your time to talk a little bit about the NodeXL tool as one way to think about social network analysis, which is the things that Connected Action does full-time, some stuff that I kind of play around the edges of. But we want to show you an example first, and we'll talk a little bit more about how you can use those. And something that really popped in my feeds early this week was taking a look at some new stuff under the hashtag Reasons for Hope. And Marc, I know you've kind of already run some information on this. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Right. So we have a hashtag. It's topical. It's popped up earlier in the week. And, we could spend a lot of time just scrolling through the Twitter feed. And, that could take a while.
It just doesn't stop. It just keeps going.
And, I guess what we should ask are what are the questions that we would like to know the answers to that reading all these tweets would answer. Why are we reading these tweets? I believe there are a few basic questions we'd like to know. We'd like to know who the leaders of this conversation are. We'd like to know if there are more than one. We'd like to know if there are any factions or divisions. We'd like to get a quick summary of what are people linking to and what hashtags are co-occurring. So it would be nice if we could, in some ways, distill this long stream of content down to the answers to those questions. And so what we have done, instead of trying to read all these messages, we've gone to NodeXL, the Network Overview, Discovery, and Exploration add-in for Excel. And we built a map for the topic, Reasons for Hope, just yesterday. And this is that map. This is the picture of the community of people who all spoke about reasons for hope. I'll zoom in on that a little bit. And what we're seeing is a dot or a little square. That's the profile photo of each of the people. And how many people? We can scroll down here and see that it was about 1,070 people tweeted over the last 23 hours. A period of time, just about a day, Sunday to Monday. And they all used the hashtag Reasons for Hope. And this created a certain shape, a crowd shape. And that shape is the shape of an audience. It's a hub and spoke shape. There are several people who are at the center of these structures. And what they have around them is an audience, not necessarily a community, an audience where people link to the same central person, but they don't link to each other.
Right. Let's just take a second to jump into Reasons for Hope as a hashtag, though, because I think one of the things that started this with as many people, the 1,000 plus so far, is the Ford Foundation took out a actual paper ad in a newspaper saying, these are tough times. This is really hard stuff we're seeing, and it's sometimes disheartening. And we really would like to hear from people and start a conversation about why they feel hopeful instead of despair. So it begins with the real world, but it expands into all of these various conversations that you're seeing happen here. So always interesting to kind of figure out the genesis of something like this.
Absolutely. And what does it actually look like when people start to respond to or talk about or tweet about hashtag Reasons for Hope? What I see in this shape is a lot of little wagon wheels. And those wagon wheel shapes, and we can see that perhaps a little bit more clearly if you follow this experimental link, you get this view. These wagon wheels show up more clearly, and we can even zoom down into them and see who is at the center of the conversation. It's the Ford Foundation. But how about the center of these other conversations, these other broadcast wheels? And so it's useful to use this tool to identify what we like to call the mayors of your hashtag. Who are the people who are at the center of these structures? Because the people at the center are the people who have attracted the attention of many, many others, more than most. And so who are those people? You could, of course, zoom in and find out who they are, but if you want to, you can just scroll down here and we give you a report of the top most influential people in that community, and we rank them by a measure of their influence, not necessarily their follower count. So if you look at the numbers carefully here, you'll see that people are in all sorts of order without regard to their follower count. That's not how we're ranking. We're ranking by this network metric, centrality, and that's an influence score. And so it is not the case that somebody with 29 million followers is necessarily more important than somebody with 114,000 followers. It's about saying within this community, how important are you? So these are the 10 most important people talking about reasons for hope. And if you wanted to engage these people, you might want to press this follow button. Mm-hmm. So Council on Foundations is a prominent part of this conversation. You might want to hit the follow button. And if you did follow them, you may then want to engage them in some way. And that's why we have built this smart tweet feature. And the smart tweet basically says, what are the 2 hashtags and what are the 2 words you should say to that account that is likely to be of interest to them? And so the Council on Foundations is very interested in Baltimore mental health care. And if you're going to tweet at it, hoping that it would retweet you or engage you, these are the terms that we think you should talk to it about. And that comes from an analysis of its content. So these maps tell us a bit of a story about what's going on in this discussion. It's largely a broadcast. It's something in which about 10 or 12 people have used this phrase, they've talked about it, and they gather 20, 30, 40, 50 people around them. They create an audience, but they haven't necessarily created a community around it.
Right.
And that's an aspiration, perhaps. They have, to a certain extent, created a little bit of a brand. G5 is this group of rows and columns of otherwise isolated people with no connections to anyone else. And so these people are an indication that hashtag reasons for hope has become visible enough that people could use that hashtag without being part of the conversation, without necessarily retweeting somebody else.
Yep. And Marc, there's a lot to dig into here, and this is just one example of something you could be searching for. So our hope as we continue these conversations and keep getting people to think a little bit more about how do these mayors of these sub-conversations and whatnot emerge, and how do we connect with them. There's lots of ways people can do that, and rather than dig too far into this and take a lot of time, I guess I'd just like to make sure people understand what's the best way that they can continue to be involved with maybe something that's not a hashtag, but something that's of interest to them that might still be searchable using these kinds of tools.
Right. Any URL or username or hashtag or phrase, name of town, name of place, name of candidate, all of these things are just fine for use as a seed for a map. I will note that we do rank all the hashtags that are associated with this hashtag. Get get reported here. But then, of course, we break that out by neighborhood. So there were all those sub areas, the audiences that formed around those 10 or 12 leading people. Each of them have slightly different uses of hashtags. But you can always find out more about this stuff by visiting us at connectedaction.net. Connected Action is where you can go to get a map. Check us out on Buy Maps and you'll end up here. You can select a Twitter map to request, and by hitting select options, you can type in the term. Maybe you care about the Tour de France. Maybe you care about reasons for hope. Mm-hmm. And then you would type in an email address. There you go. And you would then add it to your cart. And with a few more clicks, you can get a map sent to you with all of this information. In fact, there is a discount code, isn't there? There's a place to put a discount code. I believe there's a coupon code, next in nonprofits. And if you apply that coupon code, you get a 10% discount.
Yep. And a chance to talk with somebody like me or one of your other partners from Connected Action to help decipher this information, because the map is fantastic, but there's a lot there. And it can tell you sort of the wheres people are talking, the what they're saying, how they connect. But the why behind that sometimes takes some industry-specific deciphering. So we do encourage people that are interested in being engaged in these conversations and learning from them, contact me at Next to Nonprofits, contact one of the other Connected Action partners, and see about getting some assistance in why these things are happening and how your organization, your business might benefit from participating in it. I think it's just fascinating material and such a useful tool. So we will be back again to talk about another topic, another name, another tag, depending on kind of what's topical, to keep showing information about how this can be useful. If you do have something you think would be interesting for a short examination on our weather report, you can certainly reach me on Twitter at Next Nonprofits. Marc, they can reach you on Twitter and lots of other places. Why don't you tell them where?
Right. I'm Marc with a C _Smith on Twitter. You can also find Connected Action at Connected Action on Twitter. Visit us at connectedaction.net.
Great. Wonderful. I'm really excited about this stuff. Thanks so much for taking the time today, Marc.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And thanks to all the viewers.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.